What's one of the best ways to use AI in the classroom? AI-powered education is next. Casey and I are here today to talk about a topic with AI and education that is really meaningful to us, and we get pretty passionate about it. And we have spoken about it a bit in the past, but not just really focused on this specific group of learners. And that really deals with how easy today you can use AI in the classroom to help learners that might be newcomer learners, multilingual learners, and foreign exchange students that might be in your school building. And we really feel it is absolutely our responsibility as any teacher to make sure we are getting the same quality of information in their hands. So Casey, you want to talk a little bit about, I know you've got some foreign exchange students, but I also know you have multilingual learners. So tell us how you see all this happening and what the responsibility is.
I love that we're going in this direction today, because I feel like our students who are maybe not used to English language at home, or maybe their first language that they learned was not English, there's definitely going to be some struggles that happen in an academic setting. Like, we just need to accept that and recognize that those struggles are real, and that doesn't always imply a student's level of understanding because there's a language barrier. And so really what we have to come to accept, because there's been a different schools of thought over the years about how we integrate ELL students within our classroom. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions we have is that that we have to somehow dumb down the language, or somehow create an inferior sort of product for our students. And I know that we're removed from that idea. Like, that is in the distance, in the past, and people aren't really there anymore. But yet I wonder if some of our practices still live with that sort of idea. I think about how sometimes our texts that we use or the resources that we have available to us are of a time when maybe that was a mentality, right? And we didn't give the students who are learning the content of our courses the benefit of, saying, like, the student may not have English as a primary language, but their understanding and comprehension level of their primary language is really there. So what AI I felt has been able to do for me as an educator is provide the resource as I intended it, right? As I created it for my students, and presents it for the English language learner in the language that they prefer, at the level at which they deserve. It's a matter of helping the student feel like they are recognized by us as teachers for who they are now as a learner, not because of the barrier in communication. Did that sort of come back to what you were thinking, Sandra?
Yeah, it's so simple. It used to take, okay, let's go find a book, or let's go talk to the specialty teacher to get some help. In seconds, it's a click, and you now have a video in whatever language you need. You've got the exact handout that you created. Oh, it's in a different language. It is our responsibility to get that information in our learners' hands. And the other thing is, so often I think that when we have these specialty or takeout classes, or people that are removed from our class because they need time, and they do need extra help, whatever, but our job is to make sure that our learners are doing more than just, that the curriculum is doing more than just meeting needs. Where is our responsibility to make sure they excel, not just meet, but to excel? And AI can do that, can help that anyway.
And I also feel like a lot of what we end up doing is relying on translation alone, right? Well, that can be messy and loose too, where, like, do we trust the apps that we're using for translation? A lot of us don't maybe speak the language that our students do, or that that communication barrier now is happening for us. So we have something translated, but we don't know for sure if that's appropriate for them. And there are so many wonderful AI tools that can help us navigate that. And then maybe rely on our ELL teachers and our specialist teachers to ensure that if we have something that we're doubting, if there's a moment where it's a maybe something of great importance, and maybe sensitivity is one of the biggest concerns, because I feel like I come across that too, is it's like, is this translation really getting at the core of the sensitivity of this topic that we're discussing? If it's a college English course, or if it's college public speaking, sometimes we end up getting into some topics that maybe are sensitive in nature. I would want to have my resource who knows the language and is able to communicate that with me, also on a cultural perspective too. But again, AI tools like, Duolingo and Babbel and all of those really great things that exist kind of get at the base level of translating it. But Read Theory, No Red Ink, those are also really great AI tools that can help us get to maybe the more nuanced parts of translating or putting things into terms that our students are comfortable with.
Yeah, I think too that it's also freeing for the teacher. If all of a sudden you can quickly change the language and your resource just boom, it's changed, then you'd be like, oh, well, this is a certain word I could use, because instead, again, that's that old idea of we've got to bring everybody up to speed, whatever. Like, they don't have assets. Everyone has an asset. Mm-hmm. And so using their own language as part of your curriculum, or part of your greeting each day, or some part, or incorporating it into a lesson, helps all learners, right? Mm-hmm. So and I was just talking to someone that worked in a restaurant, and they said that in order to manage, they now have to learn Spanish, because they can't talk to their chefs, who are high chefs, who are making all the, they can't manage because they don't have that language. So what are we're not doing any, good to any of our learners if we're not sharing the languages that are around us, right? And it's just so simple to do that. And I just think that using AI can make the teacher feel like, oh, I'm not so dumb here. I may be dumb. I may not have taken that course, but here's the word, and I can ask my student, how do you say these words? And now I'm learning, we're all learning, and I'm modeling, right?
Absolutely. So I love that idea. It is
a responsibility. I just feel that we are, as teachers, it's not just okay, just like, oh, it's too much for me to do. It is right at our fingertips. It is our responsibility.
Right. I would think that before the AI technologies that I have available to me now, before this time, I was very, overwhelmed is probably one of the best words to describe it, but also very intimidated by having a student who was, primary language was anything other than English. I definitely felt like I was at a loss for how I might be able to assist them. We're going back to rudimentary nonverbal communication, trying to, and waiting for my moment with the ELL instructor, the one lone person we had in our building, and really just like trying to maximize their time. And I think, like, wow, how did we ever survive it without AI during that time? And now I feel this weight has been lifted because I'm able to have the fun conversations that I get to have with my, English students in my classroom all the time, where we just, are able to communicate freely about what we did that day or that weekend, and realizing how important that conversation is for my ELL students too. That's really wild that to think that wasn't happening in our spaces before. And now we've got an app on our phones or on our Chromebooks or whatever it is, where we could just have a conversation back and forth really easily.
Right. And with their caregivers. Yeah. And with their caregivers, anyone, just adding that community, all that support. And then if we still feel overwhelmed, if we're still like, oh, we don't want to mess with the AI, well, then it is our responsibility to give the tool to the learner. They can do this. They can be. They're finally. They have the freedom of going in and knowing where to use, what tool to use, and having the tech to do it. And then, boom, right in front of them, they're getting exactly what they want. And as a teacher, it's our responsibility. That's all I have to say. And I think maybe that's the theme of the show. It's our responsibility as educators when these tools are so simple and so fast to make sure that all our learners have the opportunity to excel.
Absolutely.
So thanks.
Yeah, thank you.